A day of massive developments on Parliament Hill. And the day is far from over. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
Deeper than the headlines.
The answers you need to know.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
Well, in fact, the day has barely started in some parts of the country, but in Ottawa, on and around Parliament Hill, it has been an incredible few hours. The highlight of this political day was supposed to be the fall economic statement, also known as the mini budget. But whether that will even come to pass, nobody knows at this point, because the Minister of Finance has resigned. Chrystia Freeland not only resigned, but released a biting letter to the media that she sent to the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. In that letter, she revealed that she was told on Friday that the Prime Minister no longer wanted her to be the Minister of Finance and that she was offered another position in Cabinet. She has turned down that offer and instead chosen to resign from Cabinet on the day of the fall economic statement. She called it the only honest and viable path for her. Chrystia Freeland said Prime Minister Trudeau told her that he no longer thought she had the credibility and confidence that comes with the position of being the Minister of Finance. The backdrop for that, of course, and something that has led to much speculation, are the news reports that Prime Minister Trudeau has been trying to recruit former central banker Mark Carney to join his cabinet, most likely as the Minister of Finance. There's been no announcement so far that Mark Carney has accepted any such position. And whether there will be even a fall economic statement today, nobody knows. Who is the Finance Minister of Canada right now? Nobody knows. The Freeland resignation has dropped like a nuclear bomb on Parliament Hill. And it has overshadowed the fact that Trudeau is losing another cabinet minister, the housing minister, Sean Fraser. He announced at a news conference in Ottawa this morning he's leaving federal politics altogether to spend, he says, more time with his family in Nova Scotia. And it just so happens that the Nova Scotia Liberal Party needs a leader after getting crushed in that province's recent provincial election. The news about Freeland's resignation even caught Sean Fraser off guard when he was asked about it during his own resignation news conference this morning.
I consider her a friend, and that friendship will continue long after my time in politics. What that says about not knowing her own take on the reasons behind that decision makes it very difficult for me to assess what it may mean. But my sense is that she's been an excellent team member to work alongside, and I continue to consider her a friend. When it comes to the government, if a portion of your question referred to my view on what it may mean for the government, is that as compared to the product on offer on the other side of the chamber, it's very clear that my own party supports the priorities that I think are most important to people at home. Investing in healthcare, putting money on the table to make life more affordable, doing something serious to address the pressing threat of climate change. So from my own perspective, the choice is clear as to who will offer a superior point of view to Canadians when it comes time for them to go to the ballot boxes. But in the meantime, questions about my colleague, Ms. Freeland's motivations would be best placed to her.
Okay. Unlike Sean Fraser, Chrystia Freeland is not leaving politics despite stepping down as the Minister of Finance. She says she intends to stay on as a Toronto area Liberal MP and says she plans to run in the next election. But who will be delivering the fall economic update today? Will there be a fall economic update today? As of this hour, we still don't know. Let's get to Cormac McSweeney, our Parliamentary Bureau Chief at News Radio. Hi there, Cormac.
Hi, Rob.
So, just an incredible day, a fast-moving day, a day that is not over yet. Tell us about how you found out about the Chrystia Freeland news.
Well, I was watching Sean Fraser resign, like a lot of other political journalists, and then it was my colleague who had already arrived at the lockup for the fall economic statement texted me and said, "Hey, Freeland resigning." And I said, "No, that that's Fraser resigning. And he said, I'm not joking, Freeland resigning. And I went on Twitter and I saw the tweet along with a lot of others with her resignation letter. And as you can maybe hear behind me right now, there are cabinet ministers leaving the cabinet room after a meeting with the prime minister, and they're not talking as they leave that room. One of them did mention that there will be more said later today about what's happening, but this is just a huge shock. It's a political mess for the prime minister. Just hours before the economic statement being released, losing his finance minister, Chrystia Freeland, lobbing this political grenade in the lap of the government with this scathing resignation letter that takes aim at the prime minister. It's a mess. There's confusion. I've been speaking with some people within government. They don't know what's going on right now or how this is going to proceed forward. So it's just kind of chaos right now on Parliament Hill.
You mentioned the scathing nature of this resignation letter. What makes it so scathing?
Well, think about it. Chrystia Freeland, ever since she was named to cabinet back in 2015, has been a loyal soldier to Trudeau. The two of them have been having each other's backs, and she's been a team player, a loyal soldier the whole time that she's been in government. Even on Friday, she was asked about the reports that there's a growing rift between her and the prime minister, and she, put on a brave face and said that she is happy to serve at the behest of the prime minister to serve Canadians, to try and carve out a path forward. And then we find out in this resignation letter, it was on that day, on Friday, that the prime minister asked her to take on a new role within government. So she was going to be replaced as finance minister, and she said upon reflection she doesn't feel that he has confidence in her, and her only path forward is to leave cabinet. But then she went on to say that her and Trudeau have had differences on how to face the challenge posed by incoming U.S. President Donald Trump. And then she takes a shot at an apparent idea from the prime minister saying that, they shouldn't be eschewing costly political gimmicks. And I think most people can read it between the lines there and figure out that she's talking about the GST holiday that is now in effect and the promised $250 checks that could be coming in the spring, something many economists say is not needed right now and is actually not a good idea. And as I speak to you right now, there are boxes leaving the prime minister's office, just to update our listeners. And it could be the fall economic statement, because I understand that some of those materials were brought to cabinet today so that cabinet ministers could take a look at them. But those boxes are now leaving the cabinet meeting room. But nonetheless, to have a loyal soldier like Chrystia Freeland depart and have some scathing words for the prime minister as she goes signals an unhappy divorce here, a political divorce, that is.
Okay, busy afternoon ahead for you, Cormac McSweeney. Thank you for a few minutes today. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Cormac McSweeney, Parliamentary Bureau Chief for News Radio. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know on News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues
On News Radio, the Newsday panel.
Extended edition, 12-inch dance mix of the Newsday panel today. On a big political day in Ottawa, let me welcome everyone. Neil Brody, longtime Conservative strategist, used to work in the Harper PMO. How are you?
Fantastic today, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm great. Just trying to keep up with it all. Chris Day is back with us, president of Winston & Wilmot. Great to hear from you, Chris.
I'm pleased to be back. Thank you.
Your reaction, gentlemen, Neil, to Freeland's resignation as Minister of Finance.
Well, I know you've set aside 6 hours for this segment, so I'll ramble on for a little bit. Listen, this is for what's been a relatively snoozy fall for political news. This is barring like an unseen election being called. This is the biggest political news in quite some time. In Canada, I guess. I don't know. This is not just the finance minister resigning. Ms. Freeland at press conferences and when she signs her name on the budget and when she goes out, she's referred to as the deputy prime minister and minister of finance. So you've got the deputy prime minister resigning from that post. She's obviously staying as an MP, sitting as a backbencher, or maybe tuning in remotely until the next election. But this is like the second in command of the ship resigning, which is seismic change. And she didn't just resign. I don't know if you've read her resignation letter.
Yes, I have it right in front of me.
She helpfully posted on social media. Like, she didn't just resign; she poured gasoline on the furniture and tossed a match in.
Yeah.
And now we come to a point where the Conservative Party has come out saying they have no confidence in this government. The Bloc Québécois, by and large, has come out and said they have no confidence in the government. The Deputy Prime Minister has come out and said she has no confidence in the government. And the NDP is still perking along like it's 2022. So lots to talk about, but I'm sure that Chris has 1,000 things to say as well.
Let me just read some of the key text in this letter. She talks about the threat of 25% tariffs from the incoming Trump administration. Quote, "We need to take that threat seriously. That means keeping our fiscal powder dry so we have the reserves we may need for a coming tariff war. That means eschewing costly political gimmicks, which we can ill afford and which makes Canadians doubt that we recognize the gravity of the moment." And then a little farther down, she writes, "Inevitably, our time in government will come to an end. How we deal with the threat our country currently faces will define us for a generation, perhaps longer. Canada will win if we are strong, smart, and united." Chrystia Freeland in her resignation letter today, basically calling the GST holiday and the plan for $250 checks gimmicks. Chrystia, your thoughts, please, on this extraordinary development here.
Well, this is the unofficial start of the Liberal leadership, and what a shot across the bow it is. Those costly political gimmicks that she's talking about eschewing, she was defending and promoting just days ago. While this may be a little late to true principle, it is absolutely timed for maximum political damage, because over the last couple of weeks, it's been clear that tensions have been simmering. They've started boiling over into the public sphere and the media with reports that Mark Carney may be coming back again, and the Prime Minister's office and the Finance Minister's office were having troubles with one another. Today, this letter is dagger deep right into the heart of the political soul of this government and into its policy directions at a really, really critical time. And I could not help but notice that the finance minister of a G7 nation resigning in a public way like this drove down markets earlier today, cost Canadians money, and that is what is at stake here. I don't want to overstate this. This is a true political crisis, but it has real-world ramifications at a time when our largest trading partner is looking at us and saying, are these people the ones that are going to be at the table with us when we come into office in a month? It's looking increasingly like that may not be the case.
Okay, we'll stop here. Neil Brody, Chris Day, I'm Rob Snow. David Smith is here as well on a big day in political Ottawa. The finance minister of Canada has resigned. On the same day, Chrystia Freeland was to deliver the fall economic statement at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The government is in crisis. Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the official opposition, had scheduled some remarks with the media at 15 minutes past the hour, so he's running a little bit behind. When he begins, we'll air his remarks live. This is News Radio.
You have questions.
Now you know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
We're deciphering the big political news of the day. Chrystia Freeland has resigned as the Minister of Finance. We're here with Neil Brody, longtime Conservative strategist, veteran of the Harper PMO, Chris Day, president of Winston Wilmot. What do you think about the timing? Fall Economic Statement Day, Fez Day, Mini Budget Day, and 8 hours before Chrystia Freeland is supposed to stand in the House of Commons and deliver what was going to be probably some bad news for the government. She drops this into Prime Minister Trudeau's lap. What do you think about the timing, Neil?
It couldn't be more damaging. This is a hallmark day for the government in the fall economic statement. fall economic update is a day to put out good news. You read excerpts from Ms. Freeland's resignation letter before the break. She begins it by saying, "On Friday, you told me you no longer wanted me to serve as your finance minister." So this is, this has been in the works for 2.5, 3 days, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
If she wanted to do less damage and be friendly towards the government, she could have signed this resignation letter at the end of the day on Friday or presented it on Saturday. Instead, she waited till a couple of hours ago to post it on social media, break it however it broke, mere, longer than minutes, but, a mere hours before this headline news was supposed to come out about, a GST holiday, probably some money being spent on border security,
tax breaks for businesses, on business investment, these kinds of things, right?
There's going to be some good news that the government was going to get to talk about for the next week and a half before Canadians hid themselves away for 10 days over the holidays. It's meaningful that this came when it did. There's a week left of sitting days for the House of Commons. The House of Commons is supposed to rise on Friday for the winter break, come back the last Monday in January 29th, I think it is, 29th. So this will capture the news cycles for the next 5 days or 5 weeks or 5 months. And everyone will be talking about Chrystia Freeland, as Chris alluded to before the break. This sets up her run to sit as a backbench MP and get ready for the eventual resignation of Justin Trudeau sooner or later. And then she can throw her hat into the ring to replace him.
We'll get there, Neil. We'll get there. Yeah. Okay, we've got lots of time today, Neil. Okay, stop skipping ahead. Chris, I'm just dumbfounded by that. You told me on Friday you didn't want me to be the Minister of Finance anymore, and yet the Prime Minister really expected her to stand up in the House on Monday and deliver the fall economic statement. That's crazy.
Well, so it goes to this whole narrative that has been building over the last week in the media that there is this Plan A, Plan B scenario. Plan A, that Chrystia Freeland somehow stays on as finance minister, despite that vote of non-confidence from her prime minister. Plan B is that Mark Carney comes in to save the day. And if that doesn't happen, and now there's no Plan A, then what's Plan C, right? So to the timing of this, it is really, as I said earlier, and as Neil was just alluding to, this is timed for maximum political damage. And it's devastating. It's also notable that it's happening as the premiers are gathered in a Toronto airport hotel to talk about the substance of our fight with the U.S. right now. It's happening on a by-election day in BC, where the Liberals had that seat. They're expected to lose it, and probably now spectacularly.
And that'll be 3 in a row.
Indeed. It's also happening, by the way, as members of the Liberal Party National Board, which is the only body that can remove Justin Trudeau if he doesn't want to go, are coming to Ottawa for a Christmas party.
Ho, ho, ho. Happy holidays. All right, we'll stop here. They're playing the music. We'll be back right after the news. Again, Pierre Poilievre, we're expecting to hear from him, speak to news reporters sometime within the hour. This is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now you know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio, the Newsday panel.
Yes, again, welcome back to our Newsday panel on a big news day in political Ottawa. Justin Trudeau has lost 2 cabinet ministers today. The housing minister, Sean Fraser, says he wants to spend more time with his family. But as I mentioned off the top, it just so happens that there will be a leadership race in Nova Scotia for the Liberal leadership party, for the Liberal Party of Nova Scotia after the loss by the Nova Scotia Liberals in the Nova Scotia election, the provincial election, romping win for the Tories in Nova Scotia. So you can always get another housing minister. I mean, the finance minister resigning is on a whole other level and is Neil Brody mentioned she's also the deputy prime minister. So we're here with Neil Brody, longtime conservative strategist, Chris Day, the president of Winston Wilmot. Does this mean Mark Carney is going to be the new Minister of Finance? Neil, what do you think? And why would he want to join this mess?
Well, you're going to need to put somebody in there. If it's not Anita Anand, who seems to be Minister of Everything for this government, you're going to have to find somebody either from the existing cabinet or maybe the Senate. Many years ago, I worked for a minister who was also a senator. For 2.5 years, he was called the unelected, unaccountable Senator Michael Fortier, Minister of Public Works and Government Services. So I don't know how, Mark Carney could become finance minister, but he doesn't sit in the House. He won't be available for question period every day. I don't know if he just sets up a desk in the foyer of the House of Commons and entertains questions outside of question period while that's going on. And then if it's somebody from inside cabinet on a temporary basis, I don't know who that is. Maybe it is Ms. Anand. Maybe it's Champagne. Mr. Duclos.
Maybe Champagne. It's Sousa. Sousa was Minister of Finance in Ontario for a while. So
yeah,
there are options, I guess.
There are lots of options. But the overarching thing is, 6 or 7 ministers have resigned or said they're not going to run in the next election for the Liberal Party. I know Chris was around when I was around in 2014, 2015, leading the 2015 election campaign, where the Conservative Party saw some ministers not putting their name back in the ring to run, and that eventually led to the defeat of the Conservative. Wound up in the defeat of the Conservative Party. So, regardless of what we see in the polls, just seeing senior members of Mr. Trudeau's cabinet leave before the next election is their signal of non-confidence. And like I said earlier, a lot of people have said they have no confidence in this government except for Mr. Singh, and Mr. Singh is the only person the Canadians can look to for supporting this current government that apparently no one wants.
Chris, what do you think this means about who's going to be the next finance minister?
Well, right now you've got, and Justin Trudeau has got a lot more ministers stepping down than stepping up. That is a fact today, and Neil has outlined exactly, this has been going on for weeks, that people have been stepping down, pursuing other opportunities, and, people have been playing dual roles. You've got Anita Anand and Jeanette Petitpas-Taylor wearing 2 hats and not exactly in small portfolios. So, a cabinet shuffle was coming regardless. But I'm hearing some very, very interesting things that some more ministers may be looking to amp up the pressure on the Prime Minister to leave. There are members of the caucus that have jumped on this news this morning. François Drouin, who is an MP from rural Eastern Ontario, Liberals, has called on the PM to resign. I'm hearing that there are a couple of other cabinet ministers, including one who holds dual portfolios right now, who are also considering resigning. And I've heard that François-Philippe Champagne, who is by the order of precedence supposed to be our acting finance minister, has refused to read the speech that was prepared for the fall economic statement. So,
wow.
So there's all sorts of stuff happening here. The question is, before a cabinet shuffle, is who's going to lead cabinet? Will the Prime Minister be around to lead cabinet? And I think to the point about, Jagmeet Singh, this could be a very interesting time, a moment of opportunity for Jagmeet Singh to do something he hasn't done in the time he's been propping up the government, which is to secure himself an actual seat at the table. And he could potentially promise the Prime Minister that things will, continue on if he's brought into government, which is something that's not happened yet formally.
Okay. I have a statement here from the NDP leader, Jagmeet Singh, and we will go to Pierre Poilievre as soon as he starts speaking English. He is speaking now, but he's speaking in French. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh released the following statement in response to the resignation of Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland. Quote, "The withering resignation of Trudeau's right-hand minister shows just how deeply this Liberal government's members are obsessed with infighting ignoring the urgent challenges everyday Canadians are coping with. While the Liberals fight with each other, I believe we should be fighting for Canadian jobs at risk from Donald Trump's tariffs. While Trudeau obsesses over his own drama, I believe we should be focused on the cost of homes and groceries that are burning up people's paychecks and dimming hope. We'll take no lessons from Pierre Poilievre, who gleefully licks his chops at Trudeau's death spiral and Trump's threats. Conservatives aren't thinking about everyday people either. They're focused on making big business and ultra-wealthy CEOs richer at people's expense. Canadians are sick and tired of watching government after government put themselves, their friends, and corporate giants first. People deserve a government that fights for you for a change. I mean, there's not much in there. In terms of what, the big question would be, are you still going to prop up the Liberals? And there's nothing in there that indicates otherwise, Neil, from Jagmeet Singh.
Well, yes, on my notepad here next to me right now, where I jot down my thoughts so I don't sound like a babbling idiot on this radio show. I have Jagmeet Singh's statement: it says nothing. Liberals bad, Conservatives bad, NDP good. But that's all you can take out of that. As Chris said, if Jagmeet Singh was a smart politician, and no offense to the gentleman, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he's shown time and time again he's not a very capable politician. But if he was, he would be standing in the hall of the House of Commons outside the cabinet meeting, knocking on the door, asking to be let in so that he can join the government, prop it up for a bit longer. But I didn't see that. Political communications is sometimes hard when you're given some new news at the last minute that you have to comment on. But my co-panelist here, Chris Day, is a fantastic political communicator, and what Jagmeet Singh has put out is weak sauce.
Weak sauce. Okay.
There's nothing there. I know Chris would have put out something 100% better if he had been asked.
All right, look, we'll stop here. We'll probably join Pierre Poilievre, but hang on the line, both of you, and we'll ask for some remarks because there are so many ways to talk about this. And listeners can join the conversation right after the news at the top of the hour. This is what we're talking about on Talkback today at 1-833-668-2577. This is News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now you know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
Chrystia Freeland has resigned as the finance minister and deputy prime minister on the day she was to deliver the fall economic statement. That is the political bombshell in the nation's capital today. And Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the opposition, is making some remarks about it right now.
Threatening our social programs and our fiscal stability right in the middle of a potential trade war. The Prime Minister, with the help and instigation of carbon tax Carney, pushed Ms. Freeland to bring on massive, unsustainable, irresponsible spending increases that blew through her self-imposed guardrail. He thought that he would simply push her through that guardrail and off the cliff so that she, and not he and Mr. Carney, would take the blame for the crisis that he and they caused. To continue the chaos, think of this. The moment the finance minister resigned, the government's published order of precedent meant that François-Philippe Champagne instantaneously became the finance minister. But now he tells us he doesn't have the job and doesn't want the job. So it goes to the next minister who's on the published order of precedent, and that is Randy Boissonnault, more commonly known as the two Randys, the gentleman who had to resign because he falsely claimed he was Indigenous, falsely claimed that there were more than one Randy when it was all him and all in his head. And he is now technically our finance minister as we speak. We don't know for sure, though, if he'll still be finance minister in 3.5 hours when the scheduled fall economic update is expected to land. That update, by the way, is currently covered by a black blanket underneath a table. No one is allowed to look at it, even though journalists and parliamentarians showed up to read it in briefing rooms to this day, earlier today. So here we are. Everything is spiraling out of control. Out-of-control spending and bureaucracy has doubled housing costs, with 1,400 homeless encampments taking over Ontario alone. Out-of-control immigration has led to refugee camps opening in suburban Canada. And then we have 500,000 people in the country illegally, according to government estimates. Out-of-control crime overtakes our once tranquil streets, with gun crime having doubled. Out-of-control drugs and disorder add to the chaos, with 47,000 of our people dead of overdoses since Trudeau legalized drug laws, stopped enforcing them, and allowed limitless sums of fentanyl ingredients into our country. Out-of-control inflation has followed out-of-control money printing, which has sent out-of-control demand to our food banks, which are running out of food altogether.
Let's get Neil and Chris back on here. What are Mr. Trudeau's options here? Now that this has happened, what options does he have? Does he go in, for example, to question period today? In when is that? A little more like an hour and a half from now, he goes into the House and answers questions from Pierre Poilievre about this today. Does he have his own news conference? Just Chris, what would be your advice? What would you expect Mr. Trudeau to do for the rest of the day? Chris?
Mr. Trudeau needs to decide whether or not he still wants his job, first and foremost. Because, one thing about him is he's a fighter. And, he doesn't shy away from a fight. And he's a good campaigner. And I think that's what's keeping him in the role right now. He thinks he can find a way, despite all of the things that are happening to him, around him, under his watch right now. So I think he has to decide whether or not he still wants the gig. If so, he's got a couple of options. He can, put in a new finance minister. They can come to an agreement on whether or if there's a text that's read today in the House. He can try and shuffle his cabinet later this week. He could prorogue today. He could go to Rideau Hall, say to the Governor General, listen, I need some time. It's a very, very legitimate parliamentary tool.
I need to hit the reset button here. Yeah, exactly. And I need some time for everything to kind of cool off, settle down, and for everyone to kind of think clearly, right?
Or he can resign.
Or he could resign. Yeah.
And those are his options, right?
Okay.
Keep on leading the government, find a way to do that. Go to the Governor General, prorogue, and get rid of this parliamentary pressure so you can actually reset and refocus. Or you resign and either head to the polls or let someone else take a crack at it.
Okay. What do you think about that, Neil? Options for Trudeau.
Well, the title that Mr. Trudeau holds right now is Prime Minister of Canada by the fact that he is the leader of the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party has the most seats in Parliament. He's the leader of that party. He becomes Prime Minister. And, the operative word there is leader. So, I would expect him to come out before question period and give a brief statement, probably with no questions. As a leader, he has to go into the House of Commons today for question period and face the music from Mr. Poilievre, because if not, you don't look like a leader. My understanding is you don't necessarily need to have an announcement or somebody stand up in the House of Commons to present the fall fiscal update. So it could just be posted on the Department of Finance website and say, this is what we're going to do, and take some time this week to figure out who your finance minister is. Make sure that finance minister is comfortable with, what do we say, costly political gimmicks, to use Chrystia Freeland's words.
Yeah.
Because if the new finance minister isn't in favor of costly political gimmicks, we're just back where we started again. Get through this week and leave and come back in at the end of January, and hopefully you've figured something out in that time. But all of the other options that Chris has presented are equally valid. He could resign today. He could
prorogue,
adjourn or prorogue the House of Commons until the end of January. Come back with a speech from the throne. Try and reset the government's agenda from a left-leaning tax and spend government that's consumed with affordability, and become the growth and investment government that Canadians, I think, really want to see these days. But as a leader, in the next 2 hours, press conference followed by question period.
We'll wrap it up, the three of us today. Thank you for your time today. Very exciting.
It's always a pleasure being on your show, Rob.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the next few hours. Should be fascinating. Chrystia, President Winston Wilmot, Neil Brody, longtime conservative strategist from the Harper PMO. I'm Rob Snow. Be right back. Big day in news today. This is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Just moments ago in the foyer of the House of Commons, the leader of the official opposition, the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, Pierre Poilievre, took some questions from news reporters. Let's listen to a little bit of this.
Can you clarify, you do not accept the possibility that Mr. Trudeau could resign and there could be a leadership? You think there needs to be an election right now?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because it is not backroom Liberal insiders who get to choose the Canadian Prime Minister. It is the Canadian people. And for Mark Carney to write a fall economic update full of poison pills and then put it on his rival Chrystia Freeland's desk to knock her and Mr. Trudeau out of the game and allow him and appoint himself Prime Minister is about the most undemocratic political maneuver we've ever witnessed in this country's history. The Canadian people deserve to choose who should be their next Prime Minister. Let's put our faith in them.
Is it possible to have a vote on this, though?
That's up to Mr.
Will the
Singh.
election itself need to take place before January the 20th, when the catastrophic 25% tariff is slated to come into effect?
It would be ideal to have the election done before the president takes office or within the first week or two of his mandate, so that Canadians would have a strong prime minister with the brains and backbone, the strength and smarts to stand up for Canada, facing down President Trump and our American competitors.
Leader of the official opposition there, Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party, he wants an election. Says there should be an election now. Talkback is right after the news. Let's talk about everything that's been going on in Ottawa today. The finance minister has resigned. The housing minister has resigned. The day is not over. There could be more resignations. The Trudeau government seems to be reeling in chaos. Should there be an election? 1-833-668-2577. Your calls after the news.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. Here's a question for you. Should there be a federal election now? Because of everything that's happened today in federal politics, should there be a federal election now? 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. Should there be a federal election now? Call now, because we need to ask you that question and then ask you everything about what happened in Ottawa today, where it has been a heck of a day in the nation's capital. Prime Minister Trudeau lost 2 cabinet ministers today. The housing minister, Sean Fraser, announced he's leaving federal politics, wants to spend more time with his family. He's out as the housing minister, but you can always find another housing minister. The big bombshell is the resignation of the finance minister, Chrystia Freeland. She stunned political Ottawa today. She announced she has resigned as Canada's Minister of Finance on the day she was supposed to deliver the fall economic statement, also known as the mini budget. And as of right now, nobody here in Ottawa knows if there's going to be a fall economic update, and if there is going to be a fall economic update, who is going to update the public on the economy and the government's finances. So Freeland says in a scathing letter to the Prime Minister that she was told on Friday that the Prime Minister didn't want her to be the finance minister anymore, that she was offered another job in the cabinet. Really don't know more than that. But there have been all kinds of news reports about Mr. Trudeau trying to recruit Mark Carney, the former Governor of the Bank of Canada, former Governor of the Bank of England, to take on the role as Minister of Finance. And Mark Carney has made no secret that he has political ambitions, and some think he could even be the next leader of the Liberal Party in the post-Trudeau days. Now, in Chrystia Freeland's, as I say, scathing letter to the Prime Minister, she makes it very clear that Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau were not on the same page when it comes to how to manage the economy with the looming threat of Trump tariffs. In her letter of resignation, she talks about the threat of the Trump tariffs and how the government needs to take that threat seriously. And then she talks about the need for Canada to, quote, keep its powder dry and eschew costly political gimmicks. What, my goodness, could she be talking about? Well, things like the 2-month GST holiday that came into effect over the weekend and the plan for the $250 checks, which all seems to be on hold right now, the $250 checks. There were reports before all of this dropped that the $250 checks weren't even going to be included in the fall economic update. But multiple news reports in the last week or so, all kinds of pushback in finance and the Department of Finance about that measure and what they would do to the deficit, that it wasn't wise economic policy, that it was really nothing more than a short-term sugar high for the economy, all with borrowed money, and clash of the titans, Justin Trudeau versus Chrystia Freeland, and I guess all the plotting and scheming by the Prime Minister's office behind the Finance Minister's back has all become too much for Chrystia Freeland, and she has now quit as the Finance Minister of Canada. Although she says she's going to stay on as a Liberal MP, plans on running in the next election. But the country, as of now, 1:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Canada does not have a finance minister. We don't know what the heck is happening with the fall economic statement. And then think about everything else. Nobody has seen the public accounts. Nobody knows how big the deficit is. We have an incoming American president calling Justin Trudeau the governor of the 51st state, threatening the country with a 25% tariff, could have calamitous effects on the economy. This is the current government that has been languishing in the polls for more than a year, behind its main political opposition by about 20 points. So given all of this, is it time for an election? If Chrystia Freeland, one of Justin Trudeau's most loyal supporters, doesn't want to serve in Justin Trudeau's cabinet anymore, if the housing minister is taking a walk in the snow, if there could be more resignations from other cabinet ministers before the end of the day, how can the government say it has the confidence of Canadians? Should there be an election now? If the Prime Minister still thinks he has the support of Canadians, should he call an election and put that to the test? What do you think? 1-833-668-2577. Have your say right here, right now. Pretty big news day today. 1-833-668-2577. Love to hear from first-time callers as well. If you've never called before, just mention that to our call screener. We'll make your call a priority. 1-833-668-2577. Tim in Nova Scotia. Should there be an election, Tim?
Well, I think an election should have been coming a long time ago in no uncertain terms at all.
Okay.
The Canadian voters did not vote for this coalition or whatever you want to call between him and the NDP.
Right.
That was not what was voted for. I think that, honestly, my thoughts is, where's the RCMP? We still don't know these people that in the foreign interference. If I went out and all this money, all these scandals were going on, if I was even involved in a fraction of that, I'd be locked up in jail right now. So those are the two things that need to happen. We need an election and we need accountability.
Okay, election and accountability. Thank you, Tim, in Nova Scotia. Let's go to Cheryl is in Halifax. Cheryl, you're on the air. Cheryl, what do you think about the idea? Let's have an election now.
I think it should be right this second.
Right this second. Okay, well, probably have to wait until the end of the day at least.
Give Jagmeet his pension and today, and then you know what's going to happen.
Okay. You believe that the only reason we're not having an election is because Mr. Singh has yet to qualify for his MP's pension?
there's a lot of money on the line, 100%. And Sean Fraser will be the next leader of the Nova Scotia Liberal Party. Mark my words right here.
Okay. Do you think that has something to do with the reason why he announced his resignation today?
150%.
Yeah. I gather, I don't know what I saw some polling from Central Nova, which was for a long time a conservative riding under the McKays, of course. Peter McKay, his father, Elmer McKay, had that riding before, and that Sean Fraser is probably going to lose the seat in the next election anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, he will be the leader of the Liberal Party. He's way more liked than Zach Churchill was, for sure.
Okay. Well, he probably won't be the only one throwing his hat into the ring for that job, I suspect.
No, but my money's on him.
You think he will become the next leader of the Nova Scotia Liberal Party? Okay,
100%.
But you would like to have an election now, given everything that's happened.
And I would vote I would vote for PP. I definitely would. Okay. I want somebody who's more fiscally conservative and not throwing our money down the drain.
Gotcha.
I don't operate like that in my household.
Sure.
I just wish the country would get it. And we need stability before Trump gets into office, 100%.
Okay, gotcha.
Not Justin Trudeau.
Thank you, Cheryl.
He's not going to get the job done.
Thank you. We'll move along. In fact, we'll be right back. Richard in Kitchener, hang on the line. Steve in Calgary, Kyle in Listowel, there's a line available for you. It's chaos, it's bedlam, it's mayhem, it's filled with uncertainty in political Ottawa today. What is happening with the cabinet? Who is the Minister of Finance? Where is the fall economic update? Who is the housing minister? What will Trudeau say? What will Singh do? Should there be an election? 1-833-668-2577. Have your say on Talkback.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
So just to give you the very latest, around 9 o'clock this morning, Sean Fraser, the housing minister from Nova Scotia, came out and said, I'm out of here. I quit. Going back to Nova Scotia, want to spend more time with my family. The big bombshell was about 30 minutes after that. Chrystia Freeland, I resign as the Minister of Finance. Big enough, but super big, because today was supposed to be the fall economic update, which is a big day for the government. It's the mini budget. Because she says she was told on Friday that the Prime Minister didn't want her to be the Minister of Finance anymore, wanted her to take on another role in cabinet. She declined that offer and quit and resigned and called the affordability measures in her statement to the Prime Minister a gimmick. GST holiday, $250 checks. So very big day in Ottawa. We have scattered calls from not very well-known Liberal MPs, backbenchers, saying it's time for the Prime Minister to go. There have also been expressions of support for Mr. Trudeau. In about an hour from now, there's supposed to be question period in the House of Commons. There are reports Mr. Trudeau is, quote unquote, considering his options. I don't know what that means. Maybe he's considering whether to have Chinese food or KFC for supper. I don't know. But I'm asking, should there be an election? This government seems to be lurching from crisis to crisis. Should there be an election so that Canadians can express confidence in the next government and give the next government a mandate? Whether that's a Liberal government, a Conservative government, a new Democrat government. Richard in Kitchener, what would you say, Richard? Hi, Richard.
Good day. I believe they need to call election just on the fact that the people down south don't like this Justin Trudeau guy.
Okay.
That alone should be enough. But the guy has done nothing for the people. He's only there for himself. That's all he's ever been for. He's pushed 3 women out of his caucus that he says he's a feminist.
True enough.
The guy just proves everything to be the false. So he says one thing, and if he says that one thing, you can only believe he's going to do the opposite. They need an election. I don't care who gets in power, but if they don't get an election soon, the Liberals are going to get a raffle stomped right out of existence like they did in Ontario. So this guy's got to go.
Gotta
Have
go.
a good day.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Thank you. 1-833-668-2577. There's a free line. Steve in Calgary. Hi, Steve.
Therefore, I'll resign the president's oath. That was another country. Never mind. Do I agree with the election? No. I remember the chaos when John Turner stepped down over wage and price controls. There are always people that you can take over. They had Donald McDonald. They had Alan McEachen.
Right.
And John Chrétien.
Okay.
And you could say it was chaos then, but it's better for Canada if Trudeau steps down.
Right.
The Governor General appoints a new person. They have their leadership review and then a policy review, and then we have something to vote for. I don't want to just vote. Poilievre's the only answer, and there's no alternative. Canadians need and deserve an alternative. Let it play out its course, and then if the Liberals can get
But there
back
is an
on
alternative to the Liberals right now. You know, you could vote for the Liberals. You could vote for the Conservatives. You could vote for the New Democrats. You could vote for the Greens. You could vote for the Bloc. Right?
Do you remember the nonsense that Paul Martin was giving Jean Chrétien?
Sure, yeah.
And I remember saying Jean Chrétien should not resign. He should kick Martin out of cabinet, kick him into the wilderness, and then carry on. And then when there's a leadership review, Martin can do it the proper way. Not this backstabbing nonsense that Martin did and got away with.
So you would prefer to say Mr. Trudeau steps down, there's an interim leader of the Liberal Party? Is that what you're saying? Or a leadership race?
But ideally, the interim leader cannot run.
Right. And there's a leadership race, and then there's a new leader of the Liberal Party, and then that leader of the Liberal Party, and that leader of the Liberal Party then seeks a mandate from the people.
No, and then you have a policy review, and then you...
So just when is this election supposed to take place? In the year 2099?
Okay, well, that's hyperbole. That doesn't marginalize what I said, but nice try. I like your initiative there.
No, I'm just wondering. So when should the election be, Steve? On the fixed election date?
Would run when it's supposed to, yeah.
In October of next year.
You have a snap election right now. We have one choice. I want two legitimate choices. That's basically all I'm saying.
Okay, Steve. I don't say why you only have one choice when you have multiple choices. There are 5 parties in the House of Commons. I know there's not going to be a Bloc candidate running in Calgary, but nevertheless, let's talk politics today. Pretty big day to talk politics at 1-833-668-2577, 1-833-668-2577. There is no finance minister that we know of right now in Canada. No housing minister, but no minister of finance for a G7 country. It's quite remarkable, really. 1-833-668-2577. Should there be an election? 1-833-668-2577. It's Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
We're asking, do you think there should be an election now, given all the events in Ottawa today, such as the resignation of the Minister of Finance, Chrystia Freeland? 1-833-668-2577, 1-833-668-2577. A couple of lines available there. Kyle in Listowel, you're on the air. Kyle, what do you think?
I think absolutely. If the Prime Minister's own caucus is losing confidence in the Prime Minister with all these resignations, yes, Chrystia Freeland, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, has resigned. That's a big one. You got the Minister of Housing resigning. That's another big one. But look how many resignations alone has happened already for 2024. So I think there should have been an election a long time ago, but I think this definitely puts the nail in the coffin. There should be definitely one. And if this doesn't signal one, then what other issues do we have that we're not seeing as Canadians, to be honest? And I'm kind of worried about what Jagmeet Singh's going to be doing about it because I don't know. But yeah, I think there should be one there, Rob.
Well, he issued a statement, Kyle. Thank you. He issued a statement that really didn't say much other than that he is fighting for Canadians while Pierre Poilievre fights for billionaires and Liberals fight among themselves. We have 1, 2, 3 lines available. Surprised to see that. Let's go to Bill in Ayr, Ontario. Hi, Bill.
How are you?
I'm good, Bill. Busy. It's busy around here today.
I can see that.
Yeah.
You're on constant go.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'd love to see an election last year.
Okay. What about right now?
Right now.
Right now?
If it was held today, I'd go and vote right today.
Right. Okay.
It sure wouldn't be for that character that we've got in there now.
Okay. And why do you say that, Bill? Why do you say that?
Why do I say that?
Yeah.
Because he likes to take all of the tax money that he collects from everybody and give it away to other countries.
Okay, so foreign things like foreign aid, supporting Ukraine, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what's wrong with supporting his own country?
Right. Well, I guess he would say he's trying to support Canada. I'm, not going to put words in his mouth, but GST holiday for 2 months, maybe in the new year, $250 check in your bank account, Bill.
Well, I won't ever see it. I'm retired.
Well, there you go. Did you work last year?
Nope. Last year I worked was in 2023.
Well, if you worked in 2023, you were supposed to qualify, but you're right. All of that is up in the air now anyway, and apparently that was kind of the line in the sand, I guess, that divided Chrystia Freeland from Justin Trudeau and now has led to the resignation of the Minister of Finance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if he didn't trust her when he put her in that position, then why did he leave her in that position for so long?
Okay. It's just a stunning day to me, Bill. Thank you for your call, and we'll pick it up right after the news. We have 1, 2, 3 lines available there. 1-833-668-2577. He apparently told Chrystia Freeland on Friday, I don't want you to be the Minister of Finance anymore, and yet somehow expected her to read the fall economic statement in the House of Commons at 4 o'clock Eastern time this afternoon. It's a bit presumptuous, isn't it? This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
So again, we're asking, should there be an election? Is it time for an election given all the uncertainty about the current government, the Liberal government in Ottawa, the resignation of the finance minister today? And just a note, we expect the premiers are meeting today to talk about the threat of the Trump tariffs. They've been having a meeting in Mississauga out near Pearson Airport in the Toronto area, and their news conference is about to begin, but it's beginning early, and which never happens. It's beginning about 30 minutes early, leading some, like me, to wonder, well, why the heck is it starting early? Is it so they can be done and clear the decks in case Mr. Trudeau says something in the House of Commons, with question period in the House of Commons about 45 minutes from now? Just something to throw into the mix on a very exciting day in politics. Sean in Halifax, thanks for waiting. Sean, you're on the air. What do you think about the idea of an election right now?
This should have happened the third last vote of non-confidence.
Okay.
The only reason why the government is still in power is because Singh is protecting his pension.
Okay.
And I guarantee that once he has his pension, which is the end of February, you want to see come March, April, he'll start shaking his fist in the air and saying, you know what, the Canadians are fed up, the Canadians have spoken, blah, 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 and we'll be off to an election. That's the only reason why Trudeau is still in where he is.
You really believe that? That he's just hanging on until the end of February, early March, and then he'll pull the plug?
Well, it's another example that the NDP is supposed to be pro-union. I haven't heard anything with regards to the postal workers being forced back to work.
Well, they'll be back tomorrow, 8 o'clock tomorrow
Yeah.
morning. They'll be on the job.
I know that they went through the Industrial Relations Board so that they wouldn't be able to go to the House of Commons. But I haven't heard Singh talk 1 minute about how he's against it or whatever. He's talking about he's for the people, but where is he?
Well, we're keeping an eye out, sir, for Mr. Singh in the Maserati. Haven't seen it yet.
No, and he'll be checking his date on his $12,000 Rolex.
Okay. But you think there should be an election?
I wholeheartedly agree that there should be an election. The Trudeau's own caucus and cabinet are jumping off ships, so he can't say that he's got the confidence of the people or his own cabinet. There's no way that he can say that with a straight face.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, sir. Yep. Bye-bye. Let's go line 2, Al in Calgary. Hi, Al. What do you think of an election? I'm good. Al, what do you think about an election?
I figure there should be election ASAP.
Okay, why do you say that?
Get the little boy out of there playing government.
Okay.
He doesn't know what he's doing anymore. He's lost control. Chrystia told him not to spend anymore, and the only thing he can do is spend. Giving these checks out to these people aren't going to help anything.
Okay.
This GST thing is not helping anybody. Who wants to save 20 cents on $5? You know what I mean?
Okay.
He's got to leave. And same for Judd Meat. The problem is, just like the other guy said, that he's sitting there waiting till the February on 25th year, which I believe is exact the same. They have to do something and do it now. That's why she's gone, because he fired her so that she doesn't bring out the numbers that he wants to hide.
Well, apparently the numbers are going to come out. They are going to release the fall economic update. I don't know how they're going to do that, in what manner they're going to do it, but at 4 o'clock, somehow all will be revealed, and we'll know the size of the deficit and everything else
and I
shortly after 4 o'clock.
It won't come out.
Well, they're saying it's going to come out.
We're going to watch and see, because I'm on this myself.
Okay.
But the little boy got to go.
Little boy's got to go. Okay. All right. Thank you. One more here. Michael in Calgary. Hello, Michael.
Hey, Rob.
Should there be an election, sir? What do you think?
Well, I talked to you Friday, and I said, that was my Christmas wish,
Okay.
And it still is. I know obviously it's not going to happen before Christmas, but this is my New Year wish, because this Trudeau is a narcissist. He is he's a coward. He's was born with a silver spoon up as you know what.
Okay.
It's time for this guy to go. I mean, he is a joke to the world. I mean, there should have been an election last year. Like, the only reason why he's still in there is because of the NDP leader, and that's another guy that's a joke. I mean, Canada is a joke. I mean, we need an election, it's ASAP, because his quest, I think, is to try to destroy this country before he does get out.
Well, I'm sure he has the best of intentions. He believes that government is there to help you and make your life better, Michael.
Well, in my opinion, I think that he thinks that it's all about him. Because he doesn't care about Canadians. Like, when I heard about that food that they had on that trip on the plane that cost $10,000 a day. That is pathetic. Like people in Canada are going to food banks. People in Canada are just have no food on the table.
Right.
And here he is having $10,000 worth of food.
Well, I told that story last week. That was from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. He went to Italy and Switzerland with his entourage, and it was on average it was $148 a meal.
Exactly.
For every person.
This guy, he wants to be a celebrity. So, so maybe it's time for him to resign and try to get into the Hollywood business.
Okay. All right, Michael. Thank you. Thank you for your call. We're going to stop here, and then we'll take more of your calls. We are learning that Mr. Trudeau is going to address the House of Commons in some capacity at 2 o'clock Eastern time. That's about 20 minutes from now. So what is he going to say? Could prorogue the House of Commons. I mean, the last day for the House was supposed to be tomorrow anyway, and then it was supposed to be the Christmas break, not back till late January. Maybe he announces his resignation, triggering a Liberal leadership race. Who knows? There is snow on the ground in Ottawa. He could take a walk in the snow amid all of this. Meantime, Pierre Poilievre says, gosh darn it, this place is chaos. It's time for an election. What do you say? 1-833-668-2577. Have your say on Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Should there be an election? That's what we're asking. It's a day of great uncertainty in Ottawa today, in the nation's capital, because of the resignation of the Minister of Finance on what was supposed to be the fall economic update today. There are calls for an early election, a snap election, if you will. The opposition parties are almost and pretty much powerless to make that a reality, to defeat the government right now. The House of Commons is supposed to break for tomorrow, but the Prime Minister could go to the Governor General and say, I think that this government has run its course. Let's have an election. Should there be an election? Tom in Cambridge. Hi, Tom.
Good afternoon.
Hi there.
Well, after listening to all this for the last couple of years and seeing what's going on and everything else, and that an election, a snap election would not be in the best interest, I think, of Canadians. An election, yes. But, I talked to you there on Friday. Like, this is where the political reform in Canada has to come into place here. We've got too many people who are taking abuse of what they think is entitlements of Canadians now. We've got politicians getting $5,000 in salary increases that are very well paid prior to that. We got them living in tax-free homes. We've got things being expensive that can't be paid out of their own pockets. You got politicians making catchphrases and dramatizing and walking in McDonald's bags that probably were expensed as well. And that they're so far removed from society or the reality of what actually Canadians are doing. That it's just not just an election. You need complete political reform, and it's gone on too long.
Okay. But this government has been there 9 years. Do you have any confidence that this government would institute any of the reforms that you're calling for?
I don't have any confidence in this government or the Conservative government.
Okay.
They were in power for 9 years as well.
Okay,
What do you think
so then it's up to the New Democrats to institute all of this reform?
I think
Should we bring back the Reform Party?
Well, no. Well, the Reform Party is part of the Progressive Party because eight progressive conservatives joined the alliance, which was the Reform, because they lost their seats in the House. So this is where it's all. We got 5 political parties. We've re-elected 2 of the same political parties over and over again, with the asterisk of the Reform and the alliance. We are no further ahead. Unfortunately, we're not. Okay. Who are you going to vote for? The Bloc is for Quebec. NDP does not have a leader. I'm sorry, Jagmeet Singh. I lost all confidence in him years ago.
Okay.
So what's left is the Green. And unfortunately, nobody likes the environmental issues.
Okay. Well, I would say a lot of the parties have adopted and stolen a lot of material that the Green Party used to stand for. The reason perhaps why the Greens have fallen out of favor is because a lot of the parties, I'm not saying the Conservative Party has, but a lot of the parties are pretty much Green parties now. Steve in Kitchener. Hi, Steve.
How you doing?
I'm good, Steve. Early election. Yeah. What do you think of that idea?
It's something we need right now. So if Trudeau's going to come and he's going to address the House today, if it's anything other than a resignation, in my own personal opinion, by my own estimation, every able-bodied Canadian should be getting in their car and traveling to Ottawa.
Oh, yeah.
And start tearing that place down as a message to the rest of these political parties.
You don't want to. When you mean like tear it down, like you don't mean tear it down, right? Just peaceful protest.
Like Canadians have had enough, right? And we put up with so much. Anybody who says that we are living in a democratic society it's laughable. We have been abused and abused and abused, and this latest Liberal government for the last 9 years is bar none the most extreme form of government we have had. I don't like the direction of it.
Okay.
And quite honestly, with the amount of power that government has and with all the amendments they've added over the years, the laws no longer protect the people from government. They protect government officials from the people. And it's time to switch that back, start taking our government back as a message to everybody else that, listen, you have a job here. You're responsible to Canadians first. Anything above and beyond that, you come through the people. You don't just do it as you want, right? And like Trudeau, I hate to say it, he is as much a dictator as you could possibly have had in this democratic.
Well, there could be an election.
Canada.
There could be an election.
And
right, and eventually there will be an election.
Is it ever going to change, or are you just going to have somebody else who smiles a little nicer and says nicer things, going to be allowed to have the same kind of license where he can just kind of do whatever he wants, and there's no accountability?
Okay, all right, Steve. Thank you. Let's go to Andre up next, also in Kitchener today. Andre, hi there, Andre.
Yes, hi, Rob.
Hi. Do you think there should be an election?
Yes, and I'll explain why. Because I really like your show on Friday when you finish, when you talk about Canada, Team Canada. We have no, general manager and all that stuff. You know what I mean? That gives me a good parallel example of what's happening. If it would have been months ago, I would have said if Trudeau would have stepped down, it would have been better. But now, because of this happening, because of the threats of the states, our fellow friends and all that, we're not in a very good position. So I think we really need to sit down, all province right now, and hopefully get together and get to a plan, because it's coming hard. And Trudeau, well, he's just hurting us right now. If he wants to do things for us, I think he should do it now because the past is gone, right?
Okay, Andre, thank you. I'm going to stop here. When we come back, there are a couple of lines available there right now. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577 on an extraordinary day. Here in the nation's capital, we're in Ottawa today. We're watching it all unfold in real time here. Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, speaking now, getting his reaction to the Chrystia Freeland resignation as the Minister of Finance. And probably in less than 10 minutes from now, the Prime Minister could be speaking in the House of Commons. What will he say, Justin Trudeau? We don't know. You'll have to wait and see, I guess. I'm waiting like everybody else. Have your say, though. This is why we do Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
So to just set things up the next few minutes, we expect Prime Minister Trudeau to be in the House of Commons probably in 5 or 6 minutes from now. Then it'll be the top of the hour, and then it's in the next half hour question period. Will the Prime Minister be in question period to take questions from Pierre Poilievre about the resignation of his Minister of Finance? Meantime, the premiers have been meeting in Mississauga at an airport hotel out by the Toronto airport, out by Pearson. Ontario Premier Doug Ford speaks on behalf of all the premiers these days. He was just asked about everything that's been going on in Ottawa, given the threat of Trump tariffs, which was what this meeting was all about today.
For Premier Ford. Premier, I understand you spoke to Chrystia Freeland, who you have worked very closely with over these past 4 years, specifically on the pandemic, EVs, many other joint initiatives between Ontario and the federal government. Just wondering your thoughts on her sudden departure. What does this chaos in Ottawa, political chaos in Ottawa, say to you guys as you're trying to develop a plan to deal with an existential threat from Mr. Trump's tariffs on January 20th?
Sorry, I did speak to Chrystia, and I just wanted to thank her for her service. She gave me a call. I did put her on speaker with the rest of the premiers. We have a good relationship with Chrystia over the years. I just want to wish her all the best. But as a country, we have to project strength, unity, and you said the word. I didn't, but I'll repeat it. It's chaos right now up in Ottawa, and it's time that what we do every single day, the premiers, we step up and we'll make sure that we tell the world that there is stability here, there is certainty here in Canada, and by all means, it's a great place to invest in any of our provinces or territories. That's the message to the world.
That's good. Thank you, David. Thank you. Let's take another call with the Conservative opposition asking for an early election. I'm asking you about that as well. Ernie in Kitchener. Hi, Ernie. Should there be an election? What do you think?
Rob, of course. And like most of your callers are saying that, and we're hearing that all the time. I'm flabbergasted. It's minority government, but it's not a minority government. It's a family that's in the House. Their own family is fighting and like can't even get along, and they're dropping people and getting rid of them and stuff like that. And you have somebody on the other side who is just propping them up and holding all Canadians hostage. It just drives me nuts to even think of Carney just being able to come in. Like where's the democratic process in all of this? You know, that's where Canadians decided this. Canadians decided that it was minority government. It should not be. We shouldn't be held to our teeth like this. It's chaos, and it's chaos for a reason. Like everyone sees it, and it just sucks. I want to believe in the system, Rob, and it's just hard to still be proud and believe in. Do I believe that Pierre's going to be able to come in and fix it, Rob? I don't know. You know, like I want to believe in him. I want to believe in the system more than a party right now, and that's where you see this, and you're just frustrated as a Canadian. Do I want an election? Yes, that would be the best Christmas present ever. If we could, the budget was delivered today, and we could just say, here, Jagmeet, here's your pension. What are you going to do now? If we could just put that in the budget, you know, a part line, Jagmeet's pension, would there be a vote? I think Canadians would be okay with that, to be honest, and that's crazy to say.
All right. Thank you, Ernie. Thank you.
Thanks.
If you're on the line, hang on the line. We'll get to your call right after the news. It could be an incredible hour of news in the hour ahead. We expect to hear from Prime Minister Trudeau, according to reports from the House of Commons on the second to last day that the House of Commons was supposed to be in session before the Christmas break. What will he say, given all of the developments today, losing 2 cabinet ministers, one of them Sean Fraser, the housing minister, saying he's leaving politics, going back to Nova Scotia, spend more time with his family, but the big bombshell, the resignation of Chrystia Freeland, the Minister of Finance. The latest breaking news is coming up next. This is News Radio.
It's time to talk back
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback. It's hour number 2 of Talkback. We've been asking, given the events in Ottawa today, with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau losing 2 cabinet ministers, Sean Fraser, the housing minister, but the big one being the Minister of Finance, Chrystia Freeland, who has resigned with a hard-hitting critique of Prime Minister Trudeau. Should there be an election now? 1-833-668-2377. 1-833-668-2577. Pardon me, 2577. Thank you, David. We expect any moment now to hear from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in the House of Commons. The Speaker of the House of Commons has been telling MPs to get into their seats. We have yet to hear from the Prime Minister. This is what it sounds like in the House of Commons right now.
Solidarity and self-help among asbestos victims.
So they're just going through rather routine proceedings. MPs are making various statements. When we see Prime Minister Trudeau, whatever is happening, we'll have to interrupt, because there are all kinds of reports that he could announce he is proroguing Parliament, basically hitting the reset button, and we'll see you all sometime in the new year. Or maybe he resigns. And that's the end of Prime Minister Trudeau, and there would be, one assumes, an interim leader, maybe a Liberal leadership race. So let's get back to the calls here. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. Is it Marg or Marge?
It's Marg. Hi, Rob.
Hi, in Listowel. Go ahead.
I'm a first-time caller.
I appreciate that.
Yes, and so I'm agreeing with most of your callers. Justin Trudeau has to go.
Okay.
He's driving Canada into the ground. He seems to know nothing but spend, spend, spend.
Okay.
And so we need an election now.
Should be an election, you think? Okay.
Absolutely, we need one.
Okay. Thank you very much for your call.
You're welcome.
Yeah, appreciate that. Let's move along here. Mark in Alberta. Hello, Mark.
Hey, how are you, Rob?
I'm good,
for
Mark.
taking my call.
You're welcome. What do you think? Should there be an election?
Well, of course, there should have been an election a long time ago.
Okay.
The system, of course, is preventing that. I mean, you've got a couple of parties, the NDP and, of course, Quebec. They're keeping their interests alive, and they're dragging out the ability for there to be an election because there's self-serving interests. That aside, Trudeau should go. Do you think he's going to resign? Absolutely not. The guy's a narcissist.
You don't think he's going to resign, that he's going to stand up and say something else entirely, that he's not going to resign today? No?
No, I can tell you now. I'll take that bet to the bank.
Okay, all right.
The type of person and character that he's demonstrated himself to be over the past 9 years, he's a narcissist. He doesn't even think he's wrong. He cannot see the country crumbling around him. So that's not going to happen. Freeland resigning, well, that tells you a few things, doesn't it? Particularly before she's actually going to give the State of the Union on the current financial state of Canada. The word chaos it sums it up, and I think now it's getting to the point you can't keep that lid on the jar any longer. And so there needs to be an election, but I don't think we can rely on Trudeau to call it. And the sad thing is the NDP, they've got their own self-serving interests, let alone the leader of that party. And Quebec, while we're at it, and I know this won't be a popular decision with a lot, certainly in Quebec, but that even shouldn't be a national party. It's basically after provincial interests. So why are they having so many seats on a national stadium when they have no interest in the nation? They've only interest in Quebec.
Well, they would say that they're elected by their constituents in Quebec to press for Quebec's interests, sir. Right?
Well, that might be the case. And the trouble is, though, is they are not looking at Canada in a big picture. They're purely looking at Quebec. And that needs to change.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Good to hear from you. Let's move along here to Rob in Cambridge. Thanks for calling, Rob. You're on the air. What do you think on an election, Rob? Go ahead.
Isn't it? You know what? With all this call, like with all going on, it's really sad, isn't it? With all the problems in the world, and here our country is supposed to be leading and showing so much. It's so sad. I kind of question if this is part of a deal to distract of anything. I really do. I think this was all figured out last week. And I could be wrong, but you know what? The fella's clever, and the people up there are clever, and they're going to be doing something. And how do you do something like this just before the holidays and get, and then maybe get it into the new year to forget, to really to have all these distractions. What was it? A few weeks last week it was the drones. The other week it was the $250 check.
But here you have, let's think about this. You have a very loyal cabinet minister to Mr. Trudeau in Chrystia Freeland, right?
Absolutely.
For 9 years plus has been there in every capacity, foreign affairs minister, finance minister, deputy prime minister. And she is going out and she is, they say don't burn your bridges. She has taken like a gas can, poured it across this bridge and threw a cigarette on it behind her. It is crazy. Calling the affordability measures nothing but costly political gimmicks, which we can ill afford.
Absolutely. And you know what? Yeah. I wonder if that's I might be crazy sounding this. Is she maybe thinking about up the way of running for as leader of the party?
Maybe she. It's going to be difficult for her because she's been part of the government for 9.5 years. But maybe she is thinking maybe a year from now people will forget I was part of. I was the leading cabinet minister in Justin Trudeau's government.
Have happened, but I still wonder if all of this turmoil stuff is just distraction and to make us all wonder. But really believing on her resigning, she was the second in command, really. And when I believe, we need an election. I hate to say it, but it's let's get it, and then let's get going on all this instead of teeter-tottering. But I believe there's so much political game in this. I just wonder, there's got to be more to this, and I believe it's really staging something. I really wonder of that.
All right, Rob. Thank you, Rob. Thank you. I'm going to run here. We'll be right back. I'm Rob Snow. It's Talkback, 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Of course, the leader of the party that's been propping up the Liberals throughout so much of this time is Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the New Democrats, and he's speaking right now on this big day in Canadian politics. Let's listen to this here.
Which put hundreds and thousands of Canadian jobs at risk. And instead of focusing on these issues, Justin Trudeau and the Liberals are focused on themselves. They're fighting themselves instead of fighting for Canadians. And for that reason, today I'm calling on Justin Trudeau to resign. He has to go. But you don't have it. I'm going to do it in French. Dans ces temps où les gens ont des grandes difficultés dans leur vie. Ils ne peuvent pas rejoindre les deux bouts. C'est impossible de trouver du logement abordable. Ils ne peuvent pas faire l'épicerie. À 7 ans, avec tous ces
It's hard to
crises dans
afford
les vies des gens,
housing. It's hard to buy
au-delà
groceries.
de ça, on a des menaces, ou la menace de Donald Trump d'imposer des tarifs.
The threat of
qui
Donald
met en
Trump's
péril
tariff.
des centaines de milliers d'emplois au Canada.
100,000 jobs in
On
prison.
a un gouvernement, et Justin Trudeau, qui s'occupe des chicanes internes au lieu des enjeux qui frappent fort dans la vie des gens. À cause de ça, aujourd'hui, je demande la démission de Justin Trudeau et il ne peut pas continuer parce que
Justin Trudeau needs to resign.
il ne s'occupe pas des enjeux
Let's just see if he takes any
qui
questions
impactent
here.
les gens.
Will you declare no confidence in the Liberal government as soon as possible?
All tools, all options are on the table. People are hurting. People are struggling. And so all options are on the table.
Just to clarify, you're calling for him to resign, but you are not willing to vote no confidence in his government. How do those two things connect?
All options are on the table.
That's not an answer.
All options.
That's not an answer.
What does this mean for your support with the Liberals, though? How can you say he needs to resign, but then you're not telling us what you're going to do for non-confidence?
I'm telling you that all options are on the table.
Right.
Fez, will you support the Fez? And also, are you willing to continue to support the Liberals if there is a different leader aside from Trudeau?
Right now, that's not in front of us. There's no votes in front of us, but we will take each vote. And right now, literally, everything's on the table. Go ahead.
Mr. saying that all options are on the table. So why are you holding out the option to still support this government? I understand that you're saying that you might, trigger a confidence vote, but why are you still holding out the option? What is the glimmer of hope that you're seeing to possibly support the Feds or possibly support this government in some other way?
Depends on the votes. And so I want to make it very clear. Justin Trudeau has to go. He has to resign. And because of that, all options are on the table. And we'll look at each vote and we'll make a decision. But now all options are on the table. Paul Wells. Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
Behind you, sir, that
Go ahead,
room
Paul.
behind you is a parliament. The government continues to govern as long as MPs continue to have confidence in the government. You have no say over who the leader of the Liberal Party is. Will you support the government, or are you withdrawing your support from the government?
With respect to that, I've said that all options are on the table. That means everything is possible. But what is clear, given what we have seen, Justin Trudeau and a Liberal government that are focused on themselves, they are infighting at a time when people cannot even do their groceries. They can't even find homes that are affordable. And we've got the threat of Donald Trump and 25% tariffs that mean hundreds of thousands of jobs are at risk. Because of that, I'm saying very clearly that Justin Trudeau has to resign. All options on the table. Thank you very much. Merci. Thank you.
And into the House of Commons he goes. So Justin Trudeau has to resign, but I mean, my takeaway from that is, but I might support another leader of the Liberal Party. Paula in Strathmore. Hi, Paula.
Hi.
What a day,
How are you?
Paula. What a day. My gosh. Do you think there should be an election?
Oh, I wish we could have one, but I think we need him to hold on so that when there is an election that we could actually kick him out of government, not let him go. I mean, truthfully, you know the type of character he has. He is never going to just let this spot go. He just teases us and teases us. And for Jagmeet Singh, he said it all when he said, we'll have to see where the votes go.
What do you think he meant by that?
That guy is the biggest flip-flop that we've had in Parliament.
I find it kind of remarkable. Well, I've lost, Justin Trudeau has to go. People can't afford their groceries. People can't afford housing. What about the threat of the Trump tariffs? But all options are on the table.
Everybody's like, oh, Trump, he's so scary. He is not scary. All he's asked us to do is fix our borders. If he fixes our borders and Trudeau steps down, Trump would gladly work with Canada again. Trudeau has made Canada just the place to heckle. Nobody is taking Canada serious because of Trudeau.
Okay. Thank you, Paula. for hanging on the line. We do have to stop here. We'll be right back. The Prime Minister may speak any moment now in the House of Commons, so we're trying to run a tight ship around here today. It's Talkback. This is News Radio.
Something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Question period is underway in the House of Commons. Mr. Trudeau is not in the House of Commons for question period.
At a time when
This is the government House leader.
We are happy to bring forward measures that are going to assist them. Things like the GST tax cut that took place starting this past Saturday, going until February 15th. And while the Conservative leader and the members of his caucus stay focused on us, we're going to stay focused on helping.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Okay,
Mr. Speaker, it was
you could hear someone on the opposition benches say, "You don't even have a finance minister." So, look, there are calls for an election. Pierre Poilievre said there should be an election. Mr. Singh said all options are on the table, but Justin Trudeau has to resign. Justin Trudeau is not in the House of Commons right now. What does that mean? Is he drafting a letter of resignation? Who knows? I don't know. Let's go to John in Okotoks. John.
Hey, Rob. How's it going?
Busy. How are you?
Yeah, no doubt. I'm doing all right.
That's good.
I think we got to let go of the thought that he's going to use the fall economic update to announce his resignation. I just don't think that that's really a plausible path forward for him right now.
Okay.
I think we could see a resignation in the next couple of weeks, but you're more likely to find out about it from a breaking news notification to your phone than you are from actually hearing about it in the House of Commons after a caucus meeting.
Okay. All right.
As far as getting to an election, I don't think that the NDP or the Bloc are ready for an election right now.
Yeah.
I don't think they've got candidates everywhere. I don't think that I just don't think that we're going to see an election called before Christmas time here. That Christmas gift everybody's looking for is maybe more like an Easter gift.
An Easter gift. Okay. All right. Yeah, maybe.
We got a little ways to that.
A little ways to go. Okay.
And to speak to a caller that called in earlier saying, he wants to believe, I believe he kept referring to the system. The system is what he wanted to believe in right now and thinking it would hold up. And I stand with him and think that the system will do what it needs to do right now. And, we work with the Westminster parliamentary system, and it's an old form of democracy that will work out for us. But it's going to be a rough road for the next couple months while we still have Trudeau. And I don't find Pierre Poilievre too appealing, but I think that he's going to win, not because he won the hearts of Canadians, but because we don't have options, which is not good democracy, in my opinion.
All right, fair enough, John. Thank you for your call. Let's take another call before the news at the bottom of the hour. And if there's any breaking news between now and the next 30 minutes, we'll let you know, of course. Roberta. Hi, Roberta.
Hello there.
Hi, Roberta. What do you think about an election?
I do not think that an election right now would be a good thing for Canadians.
Okay.
One of your callers, quite a few callers ago, said we need more options, and I really think that what he meant was that if an election was called today, our options for the three main parties would be Singh, Trudeau, and Poilievre.
Right.
And so I think that probably we need a leadership race at the NDP level, and we need a leadership race at the Liberal level, and then we need an election. I think that would be the best for Canadians.
And why do you think that would be the best?
Because I think that those of us who are not inclined to vote for Poilievre and who feel that voting for the two really small parties that have no chance of forming government is a waste, then our choices are Liberal or NDP. And those of us that are central or left-leaning, we're tired of those two choices. So that's my opinion.
I gotcha. Thank you for sharing it, Roberta. Appreciate it. All right. Back after the news. What will happen between now and 3 o'clock Eastern Time? It's all a grand mystery today, isn't it? 1-833-668-2577. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
It's an old political rule that opposition parties love nothing more than an aggrieved former cabinet minister. You know, after criticizing Chrystia Freeland for the better part of 9 years, now it's Chrystia Freeland, poor Chrystia Freeland. Look how badly Justin Trudeau is treating Chrystia Freeland after Chrystia Freeland announced her resignation as the Minister of Finance on the day she was to deliver the fall economic statement in about an hour and a half from now. So there is uncertainty, to say the least, in Ottawa, in the nation's capital, about who is holding down one of the most important jobs in the government. Minister of Finance, leading Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the opposition, to rise in the House of Commons during question period and ask
the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
For the Finance Minister. Who are you?
Question for the Finance Minister. Who are you? Who are you? Yeah, we are running politics in the age of TikTok and viral videos right now, and I think that's Mr. Poilievre's attempt to create a viral moment there. Joe in Kitchener, you're on the air. Joe, go ahead. Your thoughts on the day, please. Go ahead.
Well, Rob, isn't this more or less a rhetorical question? Do we need an election? We needed one a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't wait any longer. We need to get rid of this clown and all his puppets, and before they get a chance to jump ship one by one, we need to get rid of them. But we know that that's not going to happen because no matter what Jagmeet Singh says publicly, he's not going to vote to bring down the government and risk losing his seat before he gets his pension. We've had, I don't know how many callers on your show already indicate that. It's pretty much a no-brainer. And he's not going to take the chance of risking his lifetime pension just to make a point. I don't know anybody who would look you in the eye with a straight face and take that chance either, but I digress. No, Trudeau's a clown, and people have to stop this notion that he's going to resign.
You don't think he's going to resign?
No. He's too much of an egomaniac.
Okay.
He's going to figure out a workaround and stuff Mark Carney in there, and then the guy actually has some cred. So we shall see.
But let's think, if you're Mark Carney, though, and former Goldman Sachs partner, former governor of the Bank of Canada, former governor of the Bank of England, perhaps political ambitions down the road. Do you want to be part of this sinking ship? You want to, isn't it kind of like jumping on the Titanic just before it hits the iceberg?
That's a very good question. I think he would jump in to try and save the ship, and then be remembered for legacy. I mean, there's a good possibility, and then run for the leadership of the party once it's decimated after the next.
All right. I'll let you go, and I'll let the pooch go. Okay. Thank you, Joe. Let's move along here. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. Mondays, talk back on a busy day. Diane in Calgary. Hi, Diane.
Hi. I think that Jagmeet Singh is holding on. A true politician. He wouldn't answer their question. He's always saying that Trudeau needs to resign, but he's not going to overthrow the government. He wants his pension, his golden pension, I heard, was in February. And he's the same person that talks about affordability, that's driving a luxury vehicle, that the media had to catch him parking blocks down from his home, so he was trying to hide the expenditures that he's, the kind of lifestyle that he is living. I'm not happy with either one of them, and quite frankly, I'm more worried that if we end up going to an election before April, that we're going to end up having the GTA vote the Liberals back in, for all the excuses that they've done in the past, and then you're going to see a big problem here in Canada, similar to what they were forecasting for the U.S. I'm worried that we could actually have the West this time want to split because we're tired of our vote not going anywhere. We're tired of the fools that waste the money in there, and I don't feel sorry for Chrystia Freeland. She's just she's a female Justin Trudeau.
Okay. Thank you, Diane. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
bye.
good to hear from you. So, yeah, just so we can remind you, I mean, so many people have mentioned Jagmeet Singh, the New Democrats propping up the Liberals. Remember that there's not supposed to be a supply and confidence agreement anymore. They're supposed to go vote by vote, according to Mr. Singh. So, obviously, Mr. Singh is a key player in all of this. What would Mr. Singh do? What would Mr. Singh say? He came out just before question period, and this is what he said.
Will you declare no confidence in the Liberal government as soon as possible?
All tools, all options are on the table. People are hurting. People are struggling. And so all options are on the table.
Just to clarify, you're calling for him to resign, but you are not willing to vote no confidence in his government. How do those two things connect?
All options are on the table.
That's not an answer.
All options.
That's not an answer.
What does this mean for your support with the Liberals, though? How can you say he needs to resign, but then you're not telling us what you're going to do for non-confidence?
Telling you that all options are on the table.
Will you support the Fez? And also, are you willing to continue to support the Liberals if there is a different leader aside from Trudeau?
Right now, that's not in front of us. There's no votes in front of us, but we will take each vote. And right now, literally, everything's on the table.
Mr. Singh, that all options are on the table. So why are you holding out the option to still support this government? I understand that you're saying that you might, trigger a confidence vote, but why are you still holding out the option? What is the glimmer of hope that you're seeing to possibly support the Fez or possibly support this government in some other way?
Depends on the votes. And so I want to make it very clear. Justin Trudeau has to go. He has to resign. Okay. And because of that, all options are on the table. And we'll look at each vote and we'll make a decision. But now all options are on the table. Paul Wells. Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
Behind you, sir, that room behind you is a parliament. The government continues to govern as long as MPs continue to have confidence in the government. You have no say over who the leader of the Liberal Party is. Will you support the government? Or are you withdrawing your support from the government?
With respect to that, I've said that all options are on the table. That means everything is possible. But what is clear, given what we have seen, Justin Trudeau and a Liberal government that are focused on themselves, they are infighting at a time when people cannot even do their groceries. They can't even find homes that are affordable.
So that's what Mr. Singh said. All options are on the table. Justin Trudeau should resign. All options are on the table. But do you think there should be an election? All options are on the table. We'll take it vote by vote. But after tomorrow, there's not supposed to be any more votes until at least late January. This is kind of where we are right now. Question period is happening in the House of Commons. Justin Trudeau isn't even there. Nobody knows where he is. The fall economic statement is supposed to be delivered in an hour and 20 minutes. Nobody knows who's delivering it. The cabinet does not have a finance minister. The cabinet does not have a housing minister. Should there be an election? What do you think? 1-833-668-2577. Lots of time to take your calls. This is News Radio.
Something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Here with David Smith. Time to take your calls here on Talkback. 1-833-668-2577. We have been pedal to the metal here since, about 7 o'clock this morning. We thought the big story when we came into work today would be the fall economic statement, with the big unknown, David, being how big is that deficit?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be kind of the central theme of the news day. How big is the deficit?
What's the number?
Sean Fraser deciding to leave politics to spend more time with his family. Not entirely shocking. Probably going down to defeat in his riding in Nova Scotia, Central Nova, riding with a strong conservative history. Then, out of nowhere, comes this statement from Chrystia Freeland. Again, let me read it a little bit, talking about the threat of 25% tariffs. We need to take the threat extremely seriously. That means keeping our fiscal powder dry, so we have the reserves we need for the coming tariff war. That means eschewing costly political gimmicks, which we can ill afford, and which make Canadians doubt that we recognize the gravity of the moment. And there she's talking about these two affordability measures, so highly touted from the government. The prospect of sending 18 million Canadians $250 checks sometime in the new year at a cost of almost $5 billion. That was all shelved because it didn't go far enough, according to the New Democrats, and then the 2-month GST holiday that kicked in on Saturday, called costly political gimmicks by the Minister of Finance, who on Friday was told by the Prime Minister, quote, "You no longer want me to serve as your finance minister," and offered me another position in the cabinet, which she has declined. So that has now dominated the news agenda, because not only is Chrystia Freeland going out, but going out with a bang. With some hard-hitting criticisms of the government and the Prime Minister that she has served so loyally for the better part of 9 years. I mean, she has been called, Trudeau's Minister of Everything, Deputy Prime Minister, which is usually a job in and of itself, let alone being the Minister of Finance, and of course, formerly the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And at sometimes was regarded as the adult in the room within the Trudeau government. And now she's out. And it's a big loss for this government. So what do you think they're doing now, David? What are they doing right now? Okay, in an hour from now, this fall economic statement is supposed to be released. How are they going to release that? Who is going to release that? Are they going to table it in the House of Commons? Or are they just going to post it on a website and say, well, here's the fall economic statement and this is the size of the deficit, and if you care about this kind of stuff, go read it for yourself? Or is there actually going to be some kind of speech in the House of Commons? And if so, who's going to read that speech? Because it's not going to be Chrystia Freeland. And if it's not Chrystia Freeland, then it's supposed to be Champagne, the industry minister. And he said, well, I'm not going to read it. Which means it falls to the third in command, which used to be Randy Boissonnault, who's not in the cabinet anymore because of his many, many troubles. The Liberal from Edmonton Centre. So, I mean, what's happening now? Mr. Trudeau, is he trying to survive? Like full survival mode? I mean, what is he going to do? He could prorogue. He could prorogue. He could say, you know what? It's too hot in here. And we need to hit the reset button. We need things to cool off. We need the temperature to come down. And we'll see you back in late January. Could be doing that. Could be getting advice from Rita Hall and the Governor General and, crafting, okay, we're going to prorogue. The Parliament is on hiatus right now. And we will be back, say, the day after Donald Trump is sworn in as President of the United States. That's one thing that could be happening. Another thing that could be happening, I'm not saying it is happening, I have no insider knowledge on this. He could be sitting with his top speechwriter right now and going over drafts of his resignation. Because that was a very long cabinet meeting. People in and people out and people in and people out. And there have been calls for his resignation, but not from any well-known names. From assorted backbenchers that you've never heard of, despite their time in government. But behind closed doors, maybe he was told, if you don't leave, Mr. Trudeau, we are going to find a way to make you leave. That could be happening. Or maybe not. But it is an incredible day that the country is without a finance minister right now. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. Talkback on News Radio.
Something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
I guess at this point, I'm just wondering if this Liberal government's time is measured in minutes, hours, days, or weeks. Maybe months. You think about everything that's going on in the country right now, and Canada facing this threat of tariffs from the incoming Trump administration, from a U.S. president-elect who has been trolling Justin Trudeau, mocking Justin Trudeau as the governor of the 51st state, despite Mr. Trudeau going to Florida, having dinner with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, still no assurance that Canada will avoid these tariffs, various premiers going their own ways, Doug Ford talking about cutting off energy exports, the Quebec premier ruling it out, talking about the need to secure the border, the Alberta premier talking up her province's oil and gas sector and moving to secure the border, Doug Ford talking about the need to secure the border. The federal government has been touting $1 billion border security plan, but nobody knows what's up with that, whether there's any money for it, and if it would even be in today's fall economic update that would be delivered by, well, now who the heck knows? So you have the whole Trump threat and this rallying cry for everyone to be on Team Canada, and now the Minister of Finance doesn't want to be on Team Canada if Justin Trudeau is the captain of Team Canada. You have the Bank of Canada cutting interest rates. You can look at that a couple of ways. Great for people looking around for mortgages. But it was a 50 basis point cut, a jumbo rate cut, because of signs of economic weakness, the mess that the government has made of immigration, and unemployment is on the rise. Unemployment is on the rise. Canadian dollar is weak, and since the summer has been going in one direction, down. And nobody knows, as of now, with an hour to go before this fall economic update, how big the deficit is. Is it $40 billion? We know it's not $40 billion, or they would have said so. $50 billion? $60 billion? More than $60 billion? Your guess is as good as mine. The government is looking for money anywhere and everywhere. Sold some Air Canada shares to book some revenue, salivating over the prospect of collecting billions from a surplus in the federal public servants pension plan, suing Google for antitrust, hoping to win billions more in court, spending review underway, could be job reductions in government after 9 years of a nonstop hiring spree. In Quebec, the Separatist Party Québécois is promising another sovereignty referendum after it wins the next election. In Alberta, you have a government that is seething with anger over everything from pipelines to emissions caps, export taxes, the Premier of Saskatchewan calling for an election. And now this is the latest shoe to drop. Pretty big shoe. Chrystia Freeland, a more loyal Justin Trudeau soldier you will not find, telling the Prime Minister of Canada in no uncertain terms, get bent. What a day. The latest breaking news is next, and the day is not over. This is News Radio.